Live already. Okay.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to The Unspoken Truth. This is your weekly live. I'm your host, Rob Russ.
And I'm Stud Muffin Edward Anderson.
G'day, Ed. How are you, mate?
Living the dream, Robbie. How you doing, buddy?
I'm very well. I'm excited to be doing today's show. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. It's been very close to me for the last couple of weeks, and I'm about to launch a new business in and around this topic today, which is, of course, is AI, artificial intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time here, welcome. It's great to have you here. And if you're back for more for your daily ritual, thank you for joining us and for your ongoing support. If you don't know, Ed and I like to have a look at behind the mainstream media and the stories that are there. And we like to give you the unspoken truth. And today we're going to be talking about AI. It's a revolution, how you must adapt. Don't want to ignore this, folks. You will ignore this at your own peril. And I'll show you how it's also the biggest opportunity in human history. And it's not one of those fly-by-nighters that's just going to be here for a couple of weeks or a few months like some giant crypto rally or some idea for the next great app. AI is the future. And if you can grab the coattails of it early on, like now, because we're inside the first 12 months, this will set you up forever. So I'm excited to be sharing my perspectives on that today. It's going to be a fun show. We've got a lot to cover. So why don't we get right into today's show? Ed, do you want to set the frame here for us, mate, as we get going with the program today?
Yeah, and people have to be made aware that AI, this is a revolution going on, and what's going to happen it's already happening. Our lives are being changed right now. It might not affect you directly. Maybe you don't think you feel it, but pretty soon it is going to become obvious. Little things are going to become apparent to you of how AI is entering your life. And this is one of those historical events that is irreversible. Once this is in full measure, it cannot be put back in the bottle. Okay, it's here. And that's one of the biggest concerns that I think on a geopolitical level, the people at the powers be should be worried about China. China is leading the way in artificial intelligence, right? But artificial intelligence, it's gonna affect every single aspect of our lives, right down to your relationship with your sweetheart. All right, it's going to affect everything. And what I'm worried about is that a lot of people don't even know what it is, and even more people don't understand what it is. And you have to know what's coming your way, because it's coming like a freight train, man, and it's not going away. And I think there's a lot of bad implications with AI, along with the good, but we're going to have to take it all because none of it is going away. So I want to make sure that people are, we want to make sure that people are prepared for it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's good and bad. There's yin and yang with everything that's going on there. I'm going to show you some yin and yang as it relates to small business today as well. And I focused my business on small business because they're the ones that employ the vast majority of planet Earth. Most people are not employed by a giant Fortune 500 company. Most people are employed by a mum and dad business that might have a dozen employees. They might have as many as 40 or 50 employees. Here in Australia, if you're a business that's doing sub $10 million in revenue per year, you're considered small. So think about that for a minute. If you had 20 staff and you were pulling $10 million a year, that seems like a pretty big business. And it's all relative, right, to the amount of people that you have. That's a relative amount of revenue. But anything between 10 and 50 mil, you're a medium size, or sort of 10 and 100. And anything above 100, you're considered a large business. And most people don't work for businesses that generate $100 million or more. So AI is the revolution, and it is here, and I'll show you how it will revolutionize small business. But before we go too far down that rabbit hole, I want to throw directly to your report here, Ed, because this goes for a few minutes, and this will set the frame nicely for the live today and for today's podcast discussion. So let's head on over to that report, and we'll be right back after this.
This could be one of the most important reports I've ever made. And I truly hope that you give me a little bit of your time to get this entire message. And please, let's get this message out. Share this video, and please give me a like. Okay, your life is in the process of changing right now at every level. Your professional level, your investment level, your personal level, and even your relationship level. And I'm not talking about it's coming soon. It is happening right now. Let's talk about it. Okay, so my name is Edward Anderson, and I'm not a professional YouTuber. I put out these kind of reports to help people out in any way that I can. I do have a Wall Street background, and I've got experience in other categories as well. And the subject I want to talk to you about today is artificial intelligence and its role in changing your life. Now, unless you've been hiding under a rock, you've been hearing about how important AI is and how it's going to change the world. But for most of you, this is probably a foreign idea and you don't really understand why it really affects you. So you don't really spend a whole lot of time thinking about it. So I'm going to bring it to your doorstep here and tell you why it's going to change your life and right now. So IBM just did an exhaustive two-part survey, and they just issued their report on what they found. Now, in this survey, they interviewed two groups of people. First, they interviewed C-suite executives, like CFOs, CEOs of over 3,000 companies worldwide. Then the second group was over 21,000 workers at various companies, again, around the world. So this is a very exhaustive report. They put a lot of time. They did a true deep dive. So today I want to talk to you about the disturbing results. Then I'm going to tell you how it affects you directly. And then I'm going to ask you, are you prepared? My guess is no. So I will offer you some solutions by the end of this video. I'm going to give you a little checklist of things that you should be doing right now. All right, so let's take a look at that report. IBM says 40% of the global workforce will have to learn new skills over the next 3 years due to AI implementation. AI won't replace people, but people who use AI will replace people who don't. So if you don't know how to use AI, you better learn real quick. And if you're not tech savvy, you are going to be out of luck. Okay, the headline conclusion is that execs believe 4 out of 10 people in the workforce, equal to about 1.4 billion workers, will need to reskill as a result of companies implementing generative AI and automation. While employees at all levels are expected to be impacted, entry-level jobs will be the most affected. 77% of executive respondents said that entry-level positions are already seeing the effects of generative AI, and they will intensify in the next few years. That figure is just 22% for executive or senior management roles. Okay, so let's let that number sink in for a second. 1.4 billion, with a B, billion jobs are going to be displaced. Now, when they say displaced, they're being kind. Only a fraction of those jobs are going to remain at all, but those are going to be for people who can learn to adapt to AI technology, learn how to use AI technology, the tech savvy people. But a lot of that 1.4 billion people are going to be gone. They're going to be unemployed. Despite the assurances in IBM's report, we've already seen plenty of instances where generative AI has replaced or is expected to replace employees. The stress and anxiety over these job losses have led to 80% of tech workers using medications, either under a doctor's supervision or otherwise. All right, so a lot of people are already, stressed out over the effects of AI technology being introduced, and it's already having a deleterious effect on the social fabric of our country. Okay, so let's take this vague concept of generative artificial intelligence and boil it down to what it actually is going to mean to you. Well, on a professional level, a lot of jobs are going to be lost, a lot. The way this is going to work is it's going to affect the entry-level people and the lower-tier people first. Those are the first people to be replaced by robots and artificial intelligence. But they are going to work their way up. Eventually, these companies are not going to need too many executives as well. Once you plug in management skills into artificial intelligence, you won't need that many managers. So don't think that just because you're in the C-suite that you're safe. Now, if we assume that the programmers of AI are going to put emphasis on profits, on profit margin, then the AI technology is going to do whatever it takes to generate more profits. And that does not bode well for anybody who is inefficient in any way. I mean, we are truly talking about Matrix movie level stuff where most humans are going to be irrelevant. And so from an investment point of view, they're going to be instructed to maximize profits for their S&P trading and their Dow Jones trading, and their NASDAQ trading. In fact, I'll confess something to you. I do have a Wall Street background. I spent many years as a stockbroker, a trader, and as a trading instructor. I started on Wall Street in 1987, so I've seen the whole evolution in the world of trading. And these days, if someone were to ask me how to learn how to trade, my advice to them is, why bother? I am actually in a program that does the trading for me. And it's the first program in the world that actually implements artificial intelligence. Now, I'm not going to mention that the specific program in this report, but if you want to learn about it, reach out to Rob or me, and we will fill you in. So that, by the way, is one way that I am preparing for the AI revolution. Is I'm going to take advantage of it in that little corner of my life. Okay, another point about your investments and your income is right now, if you're in a company that has a pension program, or if you're getting Social Security, these are essentially Ponzi schemes, right? It's like a pyramid shape, right? They rely on a lot of people in the bottom part of that pyramid scheme paying into a system to take care of the people who came before them. That's the definition of a Ponzi scheme, right? I mean, this is called for what it is. Social Security and all government programs, they're Ponzi schemes, as is your pension system. Well, what if you have fewer and fewer people now paying into a pension system? Well, now that pyramid structure is turned upside down. Now you got fewer people supporting a lot more people. So this spells disaster for pensions and for government programs. And what about the government itself? What is the government going to do when it has less revenue coming in from income? That's a good question, right? What is the government going to do when their tax receipts go to zero, when they have no income tax coming in? Is the government going to tax robots? Things are starting to get out of control here. And there's a lot of unforeseen, unintended consequences out of this whole AI revolution that's underway. And let's talk a little bit about time frame. All right, this is happening right now. That IBM report that predicted 1.4 billion jobs being replaced, that was predicted over the next 3 years. So it's happening right now. So let's talk a little bit about the consequences of all this on a social level. You're going to have more and more people unemployed or underemployed. Remember, right now, all the personal wealth metrics are underwater. They're all in terrible shape. Total household debt now stands over $47 trillion, all-time record. Credit card debt, for the first time, has popped its head over $1 trillion. 46% of adult Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency. And by the way, those people with that credit card debt, a lot of that credit card debt, they're paying 20 to 30% interest on that debt. There's a reason why that Oliver Anthony song has gone viral. People are suffering. The government is inside of their statistics, but the truth is people are in very bad shape. And we've talked an awful lot about the financial system. I don't want to get too long-winded in this report, but I do want to give you a quick reminder of kind of our social status going on right now. Okay, so some of you have seen this video of rioters breaking into a store in LA, a high-end store. I believe this is Nordstrom's. And this is obviously a group effort. This is organized crime, but this is happening every day now. Now, just to let you know, the leftists who are in control right now of our local governments, they are passing laws saying that they will not prosecute crimes under $1,000. I think one place raised it to $3,000, which means you can literally walk into any store you want and steal up to $3,000 worth of stuff without being prosecuted. So what could possibly go wrong? Now, I want you to take note of this next guy. I'm going to show you this next clip. You know that a lot of these stores now they're locking up some of their high-end stuff, razor blades, things that are a little bit more expensive. They're hiding them up in like plexiglass plastic cubbies, and then they lock them. Well, this guy comes into the store with a blowtorch to break into. I mean, this tells you how much time this guy thinks he has. He's got all the time in the world to bother to take out a blowtorch to break into this cubby. All right, so here we go, downtown Los Angeles. There you go, guys. You're proud Californians. I mean, you're California. What the heck are you guys thinking? And let's go over to Europe. Let's go over to France. This is what's happening in France. Same thing. I mean, are you guys seeing these images on the evening news? No, you're not. You're not seeing these images on the evening news because the media is all part of the cabal. But let me ask you, do you think those pictures are going to be exacerbated, or are they going to be diminished as you go forward and people's jobs are lost? It is only going to get worse. All right, so what can you do about it? Well, what's our mantra here? Reduce your exposure to your bank. Get your money out of your damn bank. Number 2, put as much money as you can into gold and silver. And number 3, establish streams of passive recurring income. Let's talk for a quick New York City second about the importance of passive recurring income. You have to start generating alternate forms of income. If you've already started, you need more. If you haven't started, you have to get started. I mean, if you don't know how to start generating passive recurring income online without having to leave your house, which will come in handy during pandemics, by the way, then reach out to either Rob or me and we'll get you set up. So again, I am not a professional YouTuber, so I'm really hoping you guys can help me get this message out by hitting that like button and subscribing and sharing this message with anyone you can think of. Now, I do have a WhatsApp group called the Hey Ed WhatsApp group, and it's a collection of like-minded people who get together to share ideas and to work on developing our personal sovereignty. If you'd like to join, shoot me an email and I'll be happy to send you a link to join the Hey Ed WhatsApp group. Okay, so that's my sobering report for the day. Ed Anderson, live from Minnesota, signing out.
Nice work, mate. It's
you, buddy.
we need to push that WhatsApp group a little bit more and get some more people in there. So, folks, make sure you reach out to Ed, reach out to me. All of the details are already down in the description below. We don't put the WhatsApp group link in there because it just gets spammed like all buggery here in YouTube. So we definitely don't do that. We like to vet people before they come into the group. There's nudging 200 people in there. So if you want to come on over and figure out exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it, we would love to see you over there. So please come on over and support us, and we'll support you as well. This is not about selling products or services or some crypto bullshit. There's nothing like that going on there. This is complete real-time stuff in the real world with real people that actually know each other, and we get together on Zooms and calls all the time. So I encourage people to come on over and check this out. Mate, I want to have a look at some of the points that you talked about there in the in the report. One thing you didn't factor into it was the WEF and all of the crazy cabal and their depopulation agenda. They say that there's too many people in the world. This is the reason why. If you've ever wondered why, this is the reason why. Because there's a billion or so people that are going to be made redundant. And I just want to take you through some nomenclature here and just to get your thoughts here, Ed. So the way I describe it is artificial intelligence is going to make you, quite correctly pointed out, entry-level people redundant. And the word redundant means you're no longer required. And when you're no longer required, you get to the next word, which is obsolete. So artificial intelligence is going to first make you redundant because your jobs are no longer required. My dad was made redundant. So when he was a young guy, he worked for Qantas, and his trade was a tool maker. So he worked for Qantas, and they have these really expensive aircraft components. You know, he'd have 2 years worth of pay and as an aircraft component on the bench in front of him. And they would have to manufacture tools to solve the problems of this. And the tool maker was always really good at fixing things and machining things and doing all sorts of stuff. But he was made redundant by a thing called a CNC machine. And CNC machines made the tool making trade completely go away. And my dad had to shift gears. And I remember when that happened to him, vaguely remember, I was only young, but I vaguely remember when that happened, and he had to go for another job there internally within Qantas, and that's where he sort of moved sideways in his career, then up a little bit like that. So you're going to be made redundant by artificial intelligence. And then, because you're no longer required, you're going to be made obsolete because that trade is no longer required, which means you've been destroyed. So I was thinking in my marketing as I'm building out my stuff, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a sec, is that how do you go broke? Very slowly at first, then all at once. Yeah, it all just goes away all at once. So that's what's happening here. It's very, very slowly. It's a small incremental, it's just creeping like at glacier type speeds. It's creeping into our society. Then all of a sudden, like, you're no longer required. I don't need you anymore. And an example of that is the writer's strike in Hollywood. It's still going on. You're 100 days into the writer's strike in Hollywood. Guess what? Writers in Hollywood, it ain't coming back.
You're already redundant, and you're soon to be obsolete.
Yeah, and you're obsolete. Yeah, well, I think they've moved into obsolescence. And the only way that I could say it any stronger, and I didn't write this in the copy that I've got on my website or with the products and stuff that I've got in the next, that I'm launching today, actually. the reason I didn't write it is because it's a bridge too far in marketing. So you made redundant, then you made obsolete. And I thought to myself, how else could I say that? What's another way that I could say that? The only other thing that I could think of without asking AI or ChatGPT to say that differently is that you're about to be destroyed. Everything that you've ever worked for is going to be destroyed. Your intellectual property is all gone. 100% of your intellectual property is gone. Anything that you've ever said on a microphone, anything that you've ever said on a video, written in a Substack, written on a blog post, said in an interview with somebody else, that is about to be scraped on the internet with ChatGPT 5. So OpenAI came out just a couple of weeks ago and said, if you don't want your website scraped, use this robots text and put this robots text on your website and we won't scrape your site. So that's how you can stop pixels and cookies and all sorts of things happening on your website if you don't want people tracking you. And OpenAI said, here you go, here's that. But I can tell you that 99.9% of people wouldn't know how to put that robots text on their website. You could follow the instructions in about 2 seconds and do it if you really tried. But most people would go, fuck, whatever, who cares, man? But OpenAI is about to scrape the entire internet and every single website that's out there, which means you're suddenly creeping towards redundancy. Doesn't matter who you are. You're creeping towards redundancy. And the next step from redundancy is obsolescence. And the next step from obsolescence is destruction. That's the ladder of escalation that we have. This is the escalate to de-escalate type scenario. But there is no de-escalation, folks. There's ways around that. There's ways you can capitalize that, and I'll share that with you in a sec. But this is the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end, if that makes sense. That's a Churchill quote, isn't it? Something like that.
So before you get into what you're doing next topic, because I really want to, I think for the rest of the program, we really want to emphasize what you're doing and our solutions toward this. So before you do that, I want to kind of like give people a little kind of insight to the kind of ways that AI technology can change our lives. So let's talk for a second about a negative, a potential downside to artificial intelligence. I think we can all agree that our personal privacy is largely it's a fantasy. We don't have any more real privacy left.
That's a construct of your mind.
Yeah, that's right. It's the kind you think you have secrets, but there are no secrets anymore. Well, so let's say you have health issues and you think that your doctor is the only one who knows about that blood clot in your leg, and that's all kept in-house. Well, I promise you, your records are going to end up in a database somewhere, and it's going to affect any kind of insurance you ever apply for, down the road, whether it affects that particular insurance you're applying to or not. Artificial intelligence, they're going to know everything about you. They're going to know how to manipulate the hell out of our lives. We are going to be commodities to the AI algorithms out there. The companies out there, their focus is profit, right? How to maximize profit. So they're going to find ways. They've always been looking for the next cutting edge to get as much money out of us as possible, right? But now that science is going to be stuck in algorithms, and it's just going to be exponentially more powerful. So we have, again, this is irreversible. This is not going away, because even if it had a large company saying, you know what, we are morally superior, so we're not going to adopt this. Well, that company's going to be out of business pretty soon, because the companies around
they're going to be destroyed.
Yeah, they're going to be destroyed. And in terms, and from a geopolitical point of view, okay, China is ahead of America. So we have to worry about that issue. So every little aspect, right down to your relationships. I promise you, AI is going to affect your relationships. If you like to spend any time on playing video games while your missus is doing whatever she's doing, those video games are going to entice you into whatever little room that you're going to feel more comfortable in. You're going to start spending less time with your loved ones. And AI is going to be real clever about sending you where they want to send you for profit. And so it's going to put strains. I mean, there's so many different ways AI is going to affect every aspect of our lives that we can have a YouTube channel dedicated just to AI, and we'll never run out of topics.
There's plenty of those channels around, and every now and then I tune into those channels and I go, wow, That's amazing. And some dude is just scouring the internet for the latest story, and he's like, he can't believe it himself, and he's bringing it to you. Go, hey guys, you won't believe what I'm seeing here. Look at this. You've got to get this product, or give this a go, or how to manipulate it and whatnot. What you're describing there, Ed.
So from a selfish point of view, I do want to use AI if I can to my benefit, to whatever degree. That's why I have the training program that I'm in, that's the AI platform. But what you're doing, Rob, is straight to the point. You're taking this. You are basically making yourself an intermediary, a nice go-between between that mythical AI technology that no one really understands and the average person who has to know how to learn, but he doesn't know where to start. Right?
Well, there's a couple of ways to make money, and I just want to touch on something that you described, right, where you said, and this kind of ties back to that. You said that AI will control every aspect of your life, from what you eat to where you go to who you lie in bed at nighttime with, because in some ways the algorithm knows you better than what you do, and it kind of can pigeonhole you into the right things for the right purposes at the right time. And in some ways that's actually a really good thing, but that could be a bad thing as well, because it takes you a decision making away and your sovereignty as a human being to experience things that maybe you don't like. But I can tell you that most people don't want to experience things that they don't like in their life. They would prefer to have an easier life and do things that are good to them. There's a couple of ways to make money in the world, and the fundamental thing is that money comes from other people. Money doesn't just, well, it gets printed out of thin air by the banks and the Federal Reserve for sure, but for you and me and just everyone else, we can't create money. Money has to come from somebody else. And one of the best and fastest ways to make money in the world, and I want everyone to listen very closely to what I'm saying, because you got to be careful with artificial intelligence. You'd be really, really careful. There's all sorts of great things that you can build with AI, but what you want to do is you don't want to be trying to invent something. If you're trying to invent something, you'll fall flat. So what you got to do is you got to sell picks and shovels to people that are digging for gold. That's the way I describe it. And that's a fundamental truth of humanity. And it doesn't matter at what time in history you were. If you look back in history and you look at the blacksmith that was making shoes for horses, he didn't have to go to the front line and get stabbed with a spear by some crazy Saxon in a fight in England. He was busy sweating away in his shop, nailing shoes to the bottom of horses. He was selling picks and shovels to people that were going to fight to dig for gold. And that analogy holds true in just about any business or any sector on planet Earth. And if you look at those sectors and the businesses in those sectors that are selling picks and shovels, they're the ones that are going to be the wealthiest. So think about something like OpenAI, who owns ChatGPT. They're the ones selling picks and shovels to everybody else that is digging for gold. And the amount of revenue that they make is just allowing them to continuously to expand. And one of the things that is not well understood by outsiders and people getting started with artificial intelligence and just something as simple as ChatGPT or Midjourney or something like that, is that they don't understand the second, third, and fourth order effects. And you touched on it in your report as well, Ed. You said, what about Social Security? That's a Ponzi scheme as it is. Now there's no more people going to be working. There's 100 million people in America that go away because of AI. That pyramid is tipped upside down and the whole thing comes undone. And it's almost impossible to imagine that the Social Security scheme in the United States is already broke. So imagine if you're making more workers redundant and then you show footage of people sleeping on the street in tents. That's not just a few people, that's thousands of people that are in that scenario. And this is not the beginning of the end, this is the end of the beginning. And this is how it's going to escalate, and it's going to continue to escalate up that ladder of escalation until those people are destroyed. And those people their lives have been destroyed already, and it's just a matter of time before the rest of it goes away completely as well. When you look at there's so many movies about this that give you some idea of a dystopian future of the world. And one that comes to my mind is one with Matt Damon called Elysium. And everybody that can't afford to live the life that they want lives on the ground, and everybody else lives in the space station that's orbiting Earth or whatever it is, right? And there's a couple of different shows about that. Another show about that is called Foundation. There's another show on Netflix about that called Altered Carbon. It's the same sort of thing where you live in this dystopian future that's controlled by computers and robots. There's a great book out there called The Artilect War, and it's about this time in history. And it was written in the 1980s by an Australian professor, and he was a physicist, and he was sitting around pontificating like what would happen when computers actually rule the world, and how is that actually going to play out, and how does that affect our society. One of the third, fourth, and fifth order effects of this AI stuff, Ed, is that people just don't understand that all of a sudden there's going to be people that don't want anything to do with this, and it's going to become the most divisive thing in our entire society. Imagine you and I in the second half of our life. It's the second half of the match. And if someone comes along and says, well, if I do a genetic analysis of you, I do a blood test, I look at your genetics, and I can find out what you might be subjected to, like what diseases you might be subjected to, and I can stop that before it starts because genetics tells me exactly what's wrong with you, and that's what AI is used for, would you go and get that blood test?
Sure.
Probably, yeah. If you were 20, would you go and get that blood test? Yeah, probably. But there's a percentage of people in the world that would go, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to know that. I don't want to do that. There's always going to be people that push back on anything that's there, right? Because everything is polarity. There's yin and yang with everything in the world. But unless you get in line with this, unless you fall in line with this, you're going to end up being the resistance. And the resistance in the Artilect War are called the Terrans. And they're on terra firma. They don't want to be part robot. They don't want to have cybernetic. They don't want to be like a Terminator robot with a cyborg arm. They don't want to be part robot, part human. They don't want to advance like that. That's not what they're interested in. So my view is that unless you actually get in line with that and you figure out what side of this equation that you're on, you're going to be in big trouble and you're going to be left behind. So that's a lot of talk, and I've got a lot more to say on that topic, Ed, but I'll let you take the floor for a moment there.
Okay. I think so. Okay. So, hey, shout out to everyone in the Hey Ed WhatsApp group. We have a few people in the group watching. Thanks, guys. Good to see you here. And if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments section. We would love to hear from anybody about, do you think that we are full of it, or do you think this is an interesting topic? Please let us know. And let us know where you're dialing in from, because that's always fun to see. Yeah. So, I'm retired, semi-retired. I mean, I find things to do. I got to do something when I wake up in the morning. So I still, do stuff, and I'm trying to decide what I want to do going forward for the rest of my life. And I feel my time these days is largely with helping people achieve things that they're not done yet. I mean, I'm pretty free. I can pretty much pick up and go when I want. So I'm a relatively free person, but there are a lot of people out there who aren't. And with what's coming down the road here with artificial intelligence, which is just going to accelerate the natural course of events, I want to see whether we can help other people secure their own sovereignty, to be truly free. Now, of course, the obvious way to become truly free is financially, right? Become financially secure. So you and I, Rob, we are on kind of a mission to help people find ways to secure their sovereignty. And there are ways to do it. But the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be. And I'll say one more thing on this before I want to throw it back to you, is, we are going to have to learn as a race how to think differently. Because the opportunities that were literally available to us 30 years ago are no longer going to be available. There are some occupations that you will not be able to go into because AI is so dominant in it, right?
Why don't we talk about that for a second? Yeah. Because that's already happened. And one thing that I like to, because I've had this conversation a lot in the last couple of months, one thing that I really like to highlight to people is to say to them, especially when they don't know anything about it, is to remind them and ask them a question. Well, what jobs do you think we're going to go away first with AI? We've been hearing this for years. Robots will make us redundant. They're going to make, no one flies a plane. No one will drive a car. What are you fucking talking about? But what jobs are going to go away first? What do you think, Ed? What jobs have gone away?
Yeah, computer programmers.
Yep, gone. I can tell. Let me just say the job, and I'll tell you my experience. You said computer programmers in the last
auto workers.
Hold on. We'll go one at a time. So, computer programmers in the last 4 weeks, I've been building some AI tools, and I've been building some bots, and I've been building a website, and I've got a bunch of things that are about to launch in the next 24, 48 hours. I'm not quite ready to show the world yet, but after today I'll be ready and I'll be able to show. But when I have a developer that's working with me, and he gives me a piece of code. It comes back to me, and I'm not a coder. I don't know how to code. I can kind of read it. I sort of, oh, that's what that is. That's what that means. But if you ask me to sit there and type on a keyboard and do that, I don't know. So I grab his code. I put it into my website. It's not working. And I don't know why it's not working. Something to do with the CSS, the important tag, something. And I can tell by looking at it that something's not right. Copy, paste into ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm trying to import this in. I'm trying to embed this onto my website. This is what it's supposed to do. Here's the list of 4 things. Can you just fix that up or write it in a different way to do that? And it goes in like less than 3 seconds. It goes, and then I grab it, put it on the page. No, it's still not working. Can you try again? No, still not working. Can you try again? I think this is what might be happening. Yes, you're right. That's actually good. Let's try it a different way. Let's give it a different approach. And it's really nice and kind to me, right? Gives it back to me, put it there, done. And I'm like, did I actually even need the developer to do that? And then yesterday, my business partner goes, oh, I really don't like that idea, man, because, we can't translate into other languages. I said, what are you talking about, man? ChatGPT translates into all languages. And he goes, yeah, but our stuff is in English. And I said, well, I'll just give it to ChatGPT and I'll translate it into Spanish or into German or into Dutch or whatever you want me to translate it into. I'll get the document back there. And he goes, yeah, but you won't be able to check it. I said, I don't need to check it. That's perfect. And he's like, oh, yeah. So we've had translators made redundant in that 1-2 minute discussion there, developers made redundant, and also web developers made redundant.
Editors.
And that's, and am I redundant in making that website and building that website? Close. Very, 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 very close. Does it need me to do that anymore? In my mind, if I imagine what a web page could look like, I can go to Midjourney and say, can you make the web page look like this? I want the header to be here. I want a really bright image of a happy family doing that. I want it to say this text here. I want it to do this. I want it to do that. I can give it to Midjourney and I can just imagine it in my mind's eye. And in my mind's eye, I'm saying, I love the feel of the Apple website. It's so clean and crisp and they're beautiful images. It's just, can you do that for this product? Midjourney gives me 4 options and I go, no, not quite, do it again. No, not quite, do it again. That one looks good. Refine that one, refine that one, refine that one, refine that one. If I was to do that with a designer, if I did that with a designer, that would cost me $5,000 minimum.
Right.
Going back and forth.
Well, what do you think of this? I mean, I want to get your opinion on. So, in theory, you could kind of theorize that web designers, this would be a boon for them because they can do 10 times the work that they used to do.
You bet.
And they know what to ask GTP. I mean, the other people who have no idea how to use artificial intelligence or that tool, they wouldn't know where to start. And yeah, they could learn. They could probably go to YouTube and watch this stuff. But if I were a busy business owner and I didn't want to take the time to learn ChatGPT, I could probably find a web guy, tell them what you want, and they can use ChatGPT to do the work probably in a tenth the time, and the quality probably be 10 times better. What do you think?
So let me give you the example of exactly that. So my brother and I worked forever together on IT in business, and we kind of parted ways because I wanted to go and do other things in media. And he's still doing the same stuff, right? He still builds websites and does marketing and advertising campaigns, same stuff as what we were doing for years. Anyway, he has said to me, he picked up a client and they had this old school WordPress website, really old, slow as a dinosaur and just terrible. And he said I think there was something like 1,100 pages, something like that.
Whoa.
And he was pulling it out of WordPress and he was putting it onto flat HTML. So these days, the thing that works the very best for search engine optimization is really fast load times on your pages. And if you right click and inspect element inside of any web page, you can run a thing called the Google Lightspeed test or the Lighthouse test, and it will show you, Google tells you what they want you to do, and it's showing you exactly what you want to do. So my brother's philosophy is everything that was old is new again. Websites started out as somebody coding with HTML, typing on a keyboard and coding all this crazy stuff, right? And that's why websites were so expensive back in the day when they first came out. That's what the .com boom was it required really super high levels of skill and computer programming to be able to manipulate a website into that. But these days you can do that with a drop and drag editor. That's how far it's come. But everything that was old is new again in terms of marketing and search engine optimization, because if your pages load really quickly, they're They don't have anything that's on them, and you can pass the test that Google give to you. It works really well. So he picks up this guy's website for 1,100 pages or whatever it is. So he has to take them out of WordPress and convert them all into flat HTML. And normally you would have to do that one by one, or you could write a little bit of a script to do that. Now, what he does is he goes, you know what, I just told ChatGPT to write a bit of script between that website and this website to do this. And he said what normally would have taken him 2 weeks to do, now took under 5 minutes to do. And then once he'd done that, one of the things that you want to do for every web page that you have is to have a proper title. So when you look at the tabs across the top of your screen, you look at the titles of those tabs, that's the title. And then behind the title is the meta description for the page. And when the Google robot comes to your website to scrape your website, it sees the title of it. And, you know, I can see it right now in StreamYard. It says StreamYard-broadcast because we're live here. And if I look at some of the other tabs that are open, I've got unspoken truth-Google Drive. But behind that, there's a meta description. So imagine having to write 1,000 individual meta descriptions for those 1,000 pages that he just actually turned from WordPress to HTML. How would you do that? Well, the pages have already got titles on them from WordPress, but they don't have meta descriptions. Hey, ChatGPT, can you scrape the pages of the contents of all of those pages and create the right length meta description for every single page? He writes the script, puts it in between it, presses the go button, it goes and does it all in under 5 minutes. And
Okay, so-
that, once again, that would have taken, like, imagine sitting there for 1,000 pages, writing 1,000 meta descriptions. You have to scroll down the page, kind of skim the page. What's this page about? It looks like it's about dog collars and, you know, this is the best dog collar or whatever it's about, right? And then you've got to write that. No, don't have to do that anymore. Gone. Copywriting, gone. Web development, gone. Who would have thought? But the first one to go, and we kind of really haven't mentioned it, the first one to go is actually graphic designers. So imagine going to university or to college and studying graphic design and, you know, the color wheel, and you're starting with the basics and fonts and all of that. Gone. Completely gone. You know, you still need the ability to actually think like a graphic designer and know what actually works, but nothing works better than Midjourney or DALL-E or some of those other generative AIs that are out there. But even if you get something from there, you still have to be able to manipulate Photoshop. But Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever program you're using to manipulate those images into what it is that you want, that's a commodity. I can go on Upwork and hire somebody for $8 an hour to do that. That's a commoditized service. But I can't get a graphic designer on Upwork for $8 an hour. That guy's going to cost me $60 or $70 an hour. Then I'm going to go back and forth on 100 different things. Then I'm going to rack up a $5,000 bill before I settle on something that I kind of don't really like, but it's going to have to do because I don't have any more budget. That's all gone.
So let me ask you. So you're launching a new service today that you've been working on for a long time, and it's about more than just how to build a good website. It really involves branding and a whole lot more. So could you talk about that for anyone who's watching, who has a small business maybe, or they're thinking about getting a small business? Tell them what this will do for them.
I'll talk about it conceptually because I'm not ready to show the world because I've got a little bit more work to do today, but after today it'll be finished. But conceptually it's this. And the only real analogy that I could think of to give to people is this. Do you really think for a second that somebody in Ukraine, a general, is sitting there in an ops room, and I've sat in ops rooms all over the world in the military, do you think that the general is sitting there going, okay, now I think if we move the tanks from here to here, and then we move the infantry from there to there, and the logistics from there to there, that will actually help us get through and break the counteroffensive? The answer is yes. I think the Ukrainian general is sitting there and he is doing that. Because if he had artificial intelligence and he had that squared away, they already would have broken through the Russian lines and figured out where the weak spot is. They wouldn't be expending their soldiers and sending their soldiers into a meat grinder being destroyed because they don't know where they are. The reality is the Ukrainian battlefield does not have artificial intelligence. But my view is this. Do you think that the Chinese battlefield has AI?
Sure.
Fucking A, it does.
Yep.
What about the American one? Oh my God, yes. Yes, it does. That's what fifth generation warfare is. That's integrated systems, right? The Australian Defence Force is the only military in the world that is truly fifth gen, which means It doesn't matter what platform is out there on the battlefield. All I need is the capability. That jet is a bomb truck. That ship is a missile launcher. That artillery piece can get rounds on top. It doesn't matter where anything is. We have complete God's eye view of everything. And it's not just, it's humans that are making decisions, but it's the AI that presents the information to make the decisions with. So when I think of the Ukrainian battlefield, is that going on there? I don't think so. I don't think so. But now, if you take that away from the battlefield, because that's the sort of the natural place that you think artificial intelligence would be, because we've all seen Terminator movies and movies like that and movies about that type of stuff. If you take it into the business scenario, you're like, no one makes movies about AI in business. But the reality is this: your competition are now using artificial intelligence as the brains of their business, because that CFO only has a narrow-minded view of the world and only has his or her life experience to draw upon with which to make decisions. But suddenly, I've got artificial intelligence which can draw upon every single CFO that's ever existed, and I can draw upon their experience, and I can turn the artificial intelligence to be that avatar of all of the CFOs that ever existed, and I can present a really detailed problem about what's going wrong in my business and ask the avatar to solve that problem with the totality of humanity's experience right there. And people don't understand that that is how you're being rendered obsolete. It's when there's people like you and me inside of these organizations, Ed, where we're talking to the CEO and saying, hey man, do you know the guy down the street is using AI to actually run his rosters? And his rosters are way more efficient now. Do you know that they're using AI to actually recruit people now? I saw an ad online and I clicked on the ad and I ended up with an AI bot. What? So they've replaced their HR department, they've replaced their rostering staff, they've replaced some of their back office staff, so they're reducing their costs. Now you're not going to make millions of dollars by trimming the fat in your business. The only way you make more money in a business is not by reducing costs, it's by increasing productivity. And that's the fundamental mistake that business owners, especially small business owners, don't realize. Because when I think of the scale of business, there's a scale that we've created in our business, which I I laugh about. I think it's really funny, is the way that it works. And it's in plain English, and there's 7 things that we use, and they're the 7 pivot points of business, and the 7 pivot points of branding. Down the bottom at number 1, that's the lowest. Number 7 is the high. Most people think they're at number 7, where their business is thriving and they're awesome, but it's actually not true. They're not thriving and they're not awesome. Most people are down the bottom of the scale. Number 1 is drowning, and when you're drowning, you suck. You're drowning because you don't have any new leads, any new sales. Number 2 is floundering and disappointing. So the experience that you give your customers is at best disappointing. Number 3 is you're thrashing around trying to fight for survival and you're giving an average experience to customers. 4 is floating and you're okay. 5 is gliding and you're doing pretty well. 6 is winning and you're excellent. And 7 is thriving and you're awesome. Most people think that they're good, but they're not. Most people give an average experience to their customers. But part of the reason they give an average experience to their customers is because it's exponentially harder to go from average to good. And what I mean by an exponential scale is if you're starting at 1, and everyone starts at 1, to go from 1 to 2, you must double. But then to go from 2 to 4, you have to double, but you have to go through more steps. And then go from 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32, 32 to 64 on that scale of 1 to 7. Exponentially, to go from 1 to 64, you have to go through 64 steps. But what happens is businesses are sitting there thinking that they're giving an amazing customer experience. And then they look at AI and go, how am I going to use that? We have a great experience here. Our customers are really happy. We've got a flourishing business. It's thriving. It's really good. Okay, cool. That's awesome. But how do you go from good to great? How do you squeeze more juice out of that lemon? How can you squeeze more out? And what I'm talking about is how do you squeeze more productivity out of what it is that you're already doing? And businesses don't know how to do that because they're currently where they are on the scale. If they knew how to get more productivity out of what they were currently doing, they would be on the next level. And then they would be squeezing again to get to the next level, squeeze again to get to the next level. But the reality is they don't know how to get any further. Right. And the reason they don't know how to get any further is because the CFO is the totality of his or her experience. The CEO is the totality of his or her experience. They don't know what they don't know. But the whole world's experience is now available to you. I can create the avatar and I can feed the problem to that person and I can get the solutions inside of 5 minutes. And what the hell are you doing if you're not using artificial intelligence to power every single aspect of your business? AI is never going to replace the people in your business if you're a plumber. I need somebody to turn the wrench and to fix the toilet and to fix the taps and to do the installation and to lay the pipes, and I need somebody to do that. Human beings are never going to be replaced by AI in that respect. They might eventually be replaced by robots, but the robot is driven by AI, but I think, that's a kind of a bridge too far at the moment. You're sort of 50 years away from something like that happening. But the reality is, if you're not using AI to power the rostering system, to power the job planning system, and in some ways you're using that already because you've got a booking system where people come to your website, they click on there, it ends up in a booking system, the plumber goes, oh, next job, off I go to the next job. You're already using AI to a certain degree as a scheduling and a rostering system, but it's not thinking. And you're not creating an avatar for it to think to actually do those things. So here's the way that you can survive in this evolution. And it's the evolution, it's not a revolution, it's the evolution of humanity and the evolution of business, is that all you got to do is you just use artificial intelligence to power every silo of your business. That's it. It's a pretty simple thing. But unless you know how to do that, unless you know how to ask it, and unless you know how to put that together, you're going to be in big trouble. And the reason you're going to be in big trouble and move from redundancy to obsolescence to destruction up that ladder of escalation is because you don't know how to do it and you think it's all bullshit. But your competition, your enemy, are already doing it. And you're sitting here going, it's fucking bullshit, man, as if anybody's ever going to do that. How am I going to use AI to use my rostering system? You're full of shit. You're an idiot. All right, awesome. I'm going to see you I'm going to see you in the Hunger Games. Yeah, because you're going to end up, because you're redundant, you're useless in society, and you're not going to be one of the you're not going to be an Artilect into the future. You're going to be one of those Terrans. It's fucking bullshit, and you're going to be fighting for your survival, relying on the government for a handout for everything through central bank digital currencies, because you are literally completely and totally redundant, and your whole life and everything that you've worked for in your profession has been destroyed by artificial intelligence. You have to use this to power every aspect of your life if you want to survive. And it brings me to this, Ed. Is it all bullshit or is it really happening? It's really happening. It's happening right now.
Yeah, it's been happening. Yeah.
It's a scary proposition for people. Yeah. It's scary.
Okay, so when will your service be up and running?
All things being equal, tomorrow. We should be ready to go tomorrow. So yeah, I'll certainly share it with the world and share it with everybody then as well.
So you don't want to give us the website address yet?
Not yet. I'm not quite ready to do the website's completely finished and doing all of that. I've just got to fix the back end of it a little bit more. We made some decisions about it yesterday and how to actually solve the problems there as well. So I'm excited to do it. I kind of had a few false starts, and I can tell you what, folks, that if you want to go out there and build something on artificial intelligence, just be very careful. It's a very expensive process. It's not easy to do. And just about everything that you could think of in AI has already been done and thought of already. And it reminds me of a time in history in 2007 when the iPhone first came out. When we've talked about this a couple of times, right? Is everybody had an idea for the latest iPhone app, and this app's going to save the world and this is going to be amazing. And at the time it was, but now there's more than 2 million apps and nobody gives a shit. It's a little bit like podcasting back in the day in 2013, 2014, everyone had an idea for a podcast and that got going, and most people didn't stick with it because it's such a huge amount of work. But with AI, it's never going away. It's not like a bubble in a market that crashes because there's too much saturation. It literally will be taking over every single aspect of your life. And you said that right at the start in your report. It'll drive everything from what you decide to eat, because it'll decide for you because it knows you better than you know yourself, to how your vehicle drives, to the person that you sleep next to at nighttime, because it'll match you up with the right people. It's a scary proposition, but the reality of it is, unless you get in sync with it, and if you don't get in sync with things in life is really hard, I think. Yeah. Life can be really difficult. When you've had hard times in your life, it feels like everything's a struggle, man. It's a struggle to go to work. It's a struggle to pay your bills. It's a struggle to do all these things. But equally, when things have gone well, it just feels easy. It's just flowing for you. And if you can get into the flow with this AI stuff, man, I'll tell you what, your life will improve. It'll make your life better.
Well, this is a classic yin and yang, right? On the one hand, on the other hand, on the one hand, this is going to be a wonderful tool, but in other ways, I think it's going to be an evil nightmare. So depending on what topic you're talking about, but no matter which one you're talking about, I think it's safe to conclude that the way we think about our lives going forward is going to be altered forever.
Yes.
We're never going to. I mean, what we think about and when we think about them is forever going to be changed.
It's a fundamental truth that you said right at the very start of your report, at the start of the show today, Ed, where it's one of those moments in history that now we've let the genie out of the bottle. You can't put it back in. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It just doesn't, no matter what, it's messy. You can't do it. And to begin with, this is going to be very difficult for people, and it's shocking for people. Imagine if 1.5 billion people lose their jobs, man. What a mess that is in society. It's an absolute tragedy, but it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't.
And that's what we want to do here, right? We want to show people how to secure their sovereignty. So reach out to us. We'll help you get set up in that regard. And that's what we're all about. At the core of everything, that's what we're about: protecting and growing your personal sovereignty. A couple news items I want to make sure we don't forget. Okay, so today we're having the first presidential debate of the season tonight. Yep. The Republicans are
no Donald Trump, man. What the hell?
No Donald Trump, and he shouldn't be there. That's a brilliant move. I wouldn't, if I were in his position.
You wouldn't go either.
Yeah, he's the man. He's ahead by 46 points. He is the presumptive nominee. Tonight is everything here on. This is an audition for the VP slot. That's what this is going to be now. He's going to be the guy. And no, he shouldn't lower himself by sitting on a dais with 9 nobodies.
Who do you think will be the VP? Who you got money on?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm really liking Vivek.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, that's where I'd put my money. I'll back that horse for sure.
Yeah.
Why don't we ask the AI? That'll tell us.
Maybe. Well, okay. So, I mean, tonight you're going to see a lot of mudslinging, and the guy. We will know who is the front runner amongst them by who gets the most mudslinging, who gets attacked the most.
Oh, who gets attacked, not slinging the most?
That's right. Who gets attacked the most? That guy is the front. So if I were a candidate on the stage, I'm hoping people attack me because.
So it's not Mike Pence.
Oh, Mike Pence. No, he's old news. Mike.
Nothing burger Pence.
Is he even on stage tonight? I think.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is. Mike is. I'm sorry, Mike. Used to like him, man. He turncoat. He's redundant and obsolete. No,
it's not my concern. Yeah.
No,
Remember that just like put the skew to
no,
everything, man.
Right.
It's not
Very
my
good.
concern.
That's right. Very good. But I think personally, I would like to see Nikki make it further down the road.
Another instrument of the deep state, man.
Yeah, maybe.
I like Vivek because he's an outsider and he's he's not controlled by the lobbyists or the parties or anything like that. He doesn't give a shit about any of that. He's got enough money to live his life and mind his own business and stuff. Yeah.
No, exactly right. He's an outsider, and he and Trump would be like the perfect master of the Mavericks, right?
He also said that he doesn't want to be the VP, though.
They all say that.
Do they?
They have to say that.
Oh yeah, they got to say that. Yeah. Otherwise, you look like you're supporting him, and then it goes away for yourself, though. Yeah. So, but if someone offered that to you, would you take it?
Not now, because he has to the stage right now.
No, after the nomination, I mean.
Right.
So Trump gets nominated. Yep. So hey, man, do you want to come and do this with me or not?
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I reckon he will.
So right now, they've got to make themselves as attractive as possible, so that Trump is impressed by you. Oh, hey, man, the people love you. The people would people, you came in second place, so just like in business, you want to make yourself, in business as an employee, you want to make yourself irreplaceable, right? You want to make yourself valuable. Same thing.
There's a great show out there. It's called The Diplomat. And I like these political shows. I think they're really good. You know, some of it's fantasy, and I like the fantasy of it. If that was what it was really like, that's pretty cool, right? And you watch these amazing actors and these really cool scripts that draw you in and stuff. I just like the filmmaking of it. And it's called The Diplomat, and she's her husband was an ambassador, and she's now the ambassador, and she ends up as the ambassador in the UK, and she's going through all of these all of these scenarios and all of this geopolitics and this war stuff, and ultimately there's some people in the background playing, and they're pushing her towards being the VP, because the VP is about to get found out for this scandal, and she's up for the job, and she's kind of in a cursory glance is listening to it and looking at it, and it's actually a really good show, really well thought out, amazing actors, and it's quite funny in some parts as well, just that dark humor that's out there. So I wonder if the real world is like that. You know, are diplomats really like that? Is that what they do? Do they go in these events and these black tie events? And, you know, I think it's all a bit of bullshit, man. Working in government's not very fun at all.
Well, I think it depends on where you're posted, right?
Yeah.
Are you posted to Paris, or are you posted to Budapest? You know,
or are you posted to Kabul?
Yeah, exactly right.
There's another show about that called Homeland.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too funny. Is there any other news you want to get out there?
Yeah, okay. And today is the second day of the BRICS meeting, the BRICS Coalition Summit in South Africa. And apparently, one piece of news is they have a boatload of applicants. They have over 40 countries who want to join, and I think at least 26 of them have their applications. I'd love to see what the application looks like. Yeah, I play well with others, and I would love to.
You have to pay $20 to your upline, man, and upline's China.
Yeah. So it's one affiliate marketing campaign.
Yeah, it's a giant network marketing.
Yeah.
It's a crypto Ponzi scam.
But I think it is. I think, and of course, de-dollarization is a top of mind in the crowd, and this is becoming a very serious organization now. I mean, with just the original 5 BRICS countries, they represent 36% of the world population. And
now bring in 40 more.
That's right. And of course, I think the two to watch for me are Mexico and Argentina, the one to get in. If Mexico, which is right on our border, becomes a BRICS partner, Brazil is already in the BRICS. That's a direct threat to the dollar right there.
Definitely. There's no question about that. I noticed in the news this morning there was a lot of, I don't know, scuttlebutt or journalists trying to get ahead of, they're about to announce a new currency backed by gold. Like, you don't know what they're announcing, man. Whatever they announce, it'll be announced, and it'll happen in its own good time. Just let it play out, and let's see. Stop trying to anticipate what's going on. It'll be fascinating if they actually do that, and that actually happens. So that could be the beginning of the end of the USD, and maybe all of that money comes home there to the United States, and hyperinflation goes, and those little bits of gold that you got on your desk there will be worth a whole lot more.
Okay, you want to play Australia trivia?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we'll start out with the easy one. So, who was who discovered Australia?
The Dutch. The Dutch discovered Australia well before the British did. I can't remember the exact year, but it was the Dutch that were here first.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Well,
what have you got? What does Wikipedia tell you?
Yeah, according to this, James Cook was the first.
No, it's not true. The Dutch were here like hundreds of years before James Cook.
Whoa. So James Cook, he was the first recorded explorer to land on the East Coast in 1770. So
not true. The Dutch landed on the West Coast well before that. I think it's about 200 years before that, man.
You know what? Now that you mention it, I think I do remember that.
Remember, it's the Dutch East Indies.
The
Dutch East Indies is Indonesia. And Indonesia is just a hop, skip, and a jump away from northwestern Australia. Yeah,
now that you mention it, I do remember that. But James Cook he's kind of the guy that gets the credit, right?
He's definitely the guy who gets the credit.
It's like Columbus and the Vikings, here in America.
Yes,
right?
Same thing, right? Yeah, same thing. There was plenty of people coming to America well before the Spanish, and they were coming across the Atlantic, and they were landing in North America and the Canadian side and that as well. And they're the historical things that you don't really hear about. But I guess people get credited for the colonization is the difference when they start to bring a whole lot of people. And Captain Cook was with the first fleet that came to Australia. But there's also a little bit of confusion about that because he came here in 1778 and Australia was settled in 1788. So 10 years later is when the first fleet came to Australia. But sorry, the first settlers came to Australia, but the first fleet came in 1778. So that's all a little bit confusing. And did Captain Cook come in that trip, in that second trip? No, he didn't. Captain Cook was on the first trip. So there's a lot of historical stuff around here where I live because Captain Cook landed just over the way here in Botany Bay. And around the corner where I fly my drone and sometimes I go paddleboarding and stuff, they rowed the boat around the corner and they rowed down Port Hacking and they were mapping all of Port Hacking. And there's a whole lot of historical stuff around here from when that all happened. And it doesn't look very much different to what it would have looked like back then because on the other side of it is National Park and that's what it would have looked like on our side where we are as well. So, yeah, you can kind of imagine what that would have been like when they first came here. It's cool.
All right. So name 3 poisonous snakes indigenous to Australia.
Oh, my God, that's easy. A taipan, a brown snake, and a red belly.
Very good.
In that order that I see out here sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, there's not many taipans out here, but every now and then I see a brown snake.
Wow.
An eastern brown snake is the second most venomous snake in the world, followed by taipan's the most venomous snake in the world. So there's no taipans around here, but certainly eastern browns, man. And they're big, these things are as fat as your arm and probably 1.5 meters long. Scary things. But there's lots of red bellies around here, red belly black snakes as well. So you got to be careful in the bush around here.
Yeah, I know. That's one downside. And look, Australia's on my bucket list. That's on my to-do list, very high up there. But the one thing, the kind of thing, fuck, man, everything in Australia is trying to kill you.
Well, I was watching TV out here the other day, and I'd finished for the day, and I thought, I got to go have a shower before I go to bed, and I turned all the lights off out here, and I went into the bathroom. I flicked the light on, and sitting. So as I walk into my bathroom, the bath is right directly in front of us, it's like in the corner. It's like a spa in the corner. And sitting right in the middle of a spa is a wolf spider about as big as my hand. It's just sitting there on his legs, and he's kind of like pulsating on his legs in the light. And I thought to myself, you got to be careful of these things because they jump. Yeah, and they're like that. It'll jump in front of your face like something out of an alien movie, and it would be as big as my face. That's how big it would have been. And I thought to myself, what do I do here? Do I try and capture you, Mr. Wolf Spider, and take you outside? That's like a bit of a risk.
Yeah, just take out the old shoe and.
No, you can't get that close, man, because they jump on you. And there was one out. There was one out here. We've got this like little. I don't know what you would call it. It's kind of like an old washing basket, but it's covered and it's like a cane basket. And I had all my podcasting gear in there, and I took the lid off it and I was pulling my podcasting gear out of it like that, and I found the microphone I was looking for, and I looked down and there's a wolf spider on me like this, and I went, "Ah!" I shoot it off. It was big, right? Same thing, as big as my hand. Shoot it off like that, and as I shoot it off, I looked and it ran across the room and it disappeared under the lounge. And right there under the lounge was Susie's camera bag.
Yes, you told me the story. I love that story. Yeah, finish the story.
And the camera bag's not like what you think. It's like a luggage bag, like you'd take on an airplane and drag behind you, right? And like I went, ah! When the spider jumped on me, and it scared the hell out of me. And Susie came out. I said, I think it's under the lounge there. Pull the camera bag out. And the camera bag wasn't zipped up. And as she opened the camera bag, it went and jumped out.
Fuck. And those are poisonous.
Yeah, man.
And you're right there in a Sydney suburb. So
those things, if they bite you, so whenever something bites you, it doesn't go into your bloodstream, it goes into your lymphatic system. But they bite you, and if it bit you on the hand, you get these big ulcers from your lymphatic system, and it just doesn't get out of your blood, and those ulcers stay with you for a long time. So it won't kill you, but it can make you very sick. And like a big spider like that has a lot of venom when it bites you, so you got to be like really super careful.
Fuck.
I had a mate of mine who was bitten by a brown snake, and he died, but he was revived. So when I was in the army, we were doing this water crossing, and so when you do a water crossing across a river, so we've got our pack. So you take your pack off, and you've got a hoochie, and the hoochie is like a piece of nylon. It's like camouflage. It's what you use for shelter. You take the hoochie out and you wrap your pack up in it like it's like a big lolly. So on either side, and then you tie the thing together. You put it in the water. You put your weapon on the water, on the pack. Put your pack in the water and it floats, and you just swim across the river. And Jamie had he had the machine gun. He had one hand on the pack, and he's kind of swimming with his other hand and kicking his legs, like swimming breaststroke, and we're going across. And someone goes, snake, watch out, there's a snake. And the snake's in the water, like swimming along, and it goes and bit him in the hand, like that. Like bit him there, but one fang missed, and one fang went into the meaty part of his hand, and swam across the river. And whenever somebody is bitten by something, you never ever transport them, right? You got to bring the transport to them. But we're on an exercise in the army in the middle of fucking nowhere, and like, Jesus, what do you do? So the first thing you do when you get a snake bite is pressure immobilization. So PIM. So you wrap his arm up and stops the venom going up in your lymphatic system towards your heart. And he was fading fast, man. It's like, got him. We stretcher carried him up to the road. The vehicle came. He got to the hospital and he died. And they revived him. And he died again. They revived him. And then he recovered. And the regimental sergeant major went and visited him. He's like, I don't give you permission to die. What do you think you're fucking doing, man? We got shit to do. Hurry up and get out of here. But yeah, man, he pretty serious. Just saved in the nick of time, sort of thing. So it's a very, very, very real thing. I remember being on that exercise, and there's like all sorts of wildlife out there. I remember walking along in the scrub and looking down, like there's like a death adder coiled up at my feet, just thinking, fuck, don't move, man. And then walking around the next corner, and there's like a giant goanna hugging the tree. You know, the goanna's as big as me, sort of thing. Just I'm gonna get eaten alive by a dinosaur here or something. It's like scary shit. But all right, next Aussie quiz. You got one more?
Yeah. So, what Aussie celebrity recently is supposed to have made over $100 million on a summer movie?
Well, she put $100 million of her own money into that Barbie movie, but Margot Robbie, of course, she has done pretty well. She took a big risk of $100 million of her own money, and it turned into $1 billion, more than $1 billion of revenue.
I thought it was $1 billion, but I wasn't quite sure. I didn't want to say it without.
No, it was $100 million of her own money she put into it, and it's made more than, I think, made $1.2 billion so far. Amazing.
Well, the movie made $1.1 billion, but she didn't make a billion.
Well, the movie's grossed that. It's collected on that, so she would have collected her money back plus a nice handsome profit there in the process.
Yeah. Okay, and what popular actor? No, let me rephrase that. So, what is Russell Crowe's nationality?
He's a Kiwi. He's not an Aussie.
There you go.
But we adopt Kiwis here in Australia.
Okay, yeah, that's all I got. So
that's all you got? I've got to come up with some Minnesota quiz questions for you. That'll be fun.
Oh, okay. So, what's the Australian national bird? Do you guys have one? Do you guys have a national bird?
Well, it's on the coat of arms, right? So, what's on the coat of arms? There's a kangaroo and an emu.
You have a kangaroo on the coat of arms.
Yeah, and there's an emu there as well.
Yeah,
that's what it would be. Would that be the national bird? I don't know, man. There's like so many crazy birds around here.
It's not a bird. It's a mammal.
No, it's a bird.
Kangaroo?
Emu. The emu is a flightless bird.
Emu.
Yeah, emu's a flightless bird.
Well, let's see.
The Australian coat of arms. You think it would be like a wedge-tailed eagle or a sea eagle or some proud creature like that?
No, I would have thought the platypus.
No platypus. I was nearly killed by a wedge-tailed eagle once. So you guys in America, you have like a bald eagle, right? And have you ever seen a bald eagle for real?
Of course. Oh, yeah.
They're big, right?
Oh,
really
massive.
Yeah. So we have a wedge-tailed eagle, same thing, right? But it's all brown. A beautiful creature. I remember I was flying into a place called Mudgee in Western New South Wales, and as we were on final approach, there was you could see down the end of the runway there was a wedgie flying around, and as we were on finals, you kind of, I don't know, not really looking what's going on down the end of the runway. You're looking at the landing point, but as we were touching down, the wedgie's just gone past the window like that, and it's like, man, if that thing had hit the glass in the cockpit there, that probably would have killed us both. because we're in this like tiny little airplane, like squashed up against each other like this, and that bird was massive, man.
Wow.
And we're traveling along at 100 kilometers an hour. The bird traveled along at 50 kilometers an hour. The boom at 150 kilometers an hour closure. It would have created a big explosion. We weren't on the ground yet, and would have pushed the controls forward. Would have speared in and died. Man, lucky, dodged a wedgie and lived to fight another day.
The national bird of Australia is the emu.
It is the emu. You don't see emus anywhere, man. The emus are out in the desert. That's where they are.
Anyway, that's all I got. So
that's all you got. Well, that was a fun way to close out the show. Thank you for doing that, Ed. That was a lot of fun. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us here on the live today. We really appreciate you. Don't forget we're available as a podcast over on Spotify and Apple as well. And come on over to the Telegram channel. If you've got any questions about how to protect your sovereignty, please reach out to me or to Ed and we'll help you out. And thanks for the opportunity, Ed, to let me talk about AI and what's going on with my business and in my life. And I'm looking forward to sharing some more of that in the next couple of days. It's going to be kind of cool.
Please hit that like button and God save the Queen.
God save the Queen. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week for the live, but we'll be back tomorrow with a pre-recorded one. Bye for now.